All right, hello again, Jeff Scott talking Bootstrap, and I have 6 more presentations to do. I'm going to do 3 more of them tonight, and the last 3, which will be tooltip, modal, and popover, I'm going to wait on those until tomorrow. But I'm going to do forms right now, followed by tables, followed by layouts. Now the layout will basically be a rehash of what I did in one of the last classes, okay? Or 152, 167. So I've copied my template over to both forms.html and changed that to form examples and to tables.html. So we're going to do tables first. All right, so here's our Bootstrap, which I don't know what I just said, but we're going to do forms first. All right, so we're going to do forms first. So this is a little longer chapter. As it says, the aim of this example is to explain and use Bootstrap forms. A web form or HTML form on a web page allows the user to enter data that is sent to a server for processing. You already know that. All right, what you may or may not know is, as it says right here, Bootstrap, like other front-end frameworks, gives forms extra styling to enhance design and user experience. All right, so we're going to look at different types of forms that you can create with Bootstrap. All right, so I've done this. I've got my forms file. I've copied in all this stuff. Let's look first at this basic example, which is about 20 lines long. As always, we'll come down here into our body, paste that in, and just start making changes. Again, I'm going to move this down over a couple lines, at least with some of this, just so you can hopefully at least see what's going on here. And I'm spacing it out more than the author did for the same reason that I just mentioned. I like to have a little bit more control over this, and I think it's easier to look at it when you separate stuff out. There's half. What the author has done a nice job of in here is showing you a lot of the different things that are available to you. So what do we have here when you take a look at everything in total? We have a typical HTML form, beginning and ending tags. We're not worrying about a method, we're not worrying about an action here. But notice that with every one of these that we have here, and it's not in this one, I'm trying to figure out why, but all of these say class equal form group. All right, except for that one, and I'm not sure exactly why. All right, but we're going to look, we're going to save this, and then we're going to run it. And you can see our form. Now, to make this a little bit nicer, I'm sure, just looking at this right now, that as always, the author has put a little bit of CSS in here someplace. Come on, where is it? Well, at least I thought. No, that's my example. I'm sorry. All right, there's the author's. So there it is. Okay, I don't know if that's the same style that we had in our style 2 or not, but we're going to look. So, come back here. Let's change this from style 1 to style 2. Save, and let's open up style 2. Now you can see what's in there. I'm going to just move this down a bit. All right, the width from 38, that's no biggie. We have no tabs. So I'm going to remove all of this, set the width to 35, and then I'm going to do a file, save as, and of course this one now will become style3.css. Alright, which means that I'm going to come over here and change this from style 2 to style 3. Save, let's go back. It looked like that when we did it, so now let's refresh. There you go. Looks, yeah, it's identical now with the one that was in the book, so to speak. Alright, so we've got all this stuff set up. Notice we can check the choose file works, and if we do choose a file, let's just grab one from here. So I'll go to my desktop and I'll grab under Java. And it shows the file. I can check it out. I can type in an email address and a password and submit. Please include, well, they've got some built-in HTML5 stuff in there at blackhawk.edu. Submit. Okay. Now it's submitted someplace. I'm not sure where, and I don't really care. But the point is, so far, with what we've seen in here, it works. All right? So it looks just like what you see here. The following sections give examples of the different, this should say variants, I believe. In fact, it does not. It says various. Bootstrap's various form elements. And I am going to actually save that. Okay. So we've gone through page 1, page 2, and page 3. The next example here is an inline form. All right. So just so you can see what this looks like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all 11 of these lines, copy them to the clipboard, take what we currently have in here for our form, comment that out, and paste in those 11 lines. Okay? Again, I can't say this to you too many times. The way that you learn this stuff is not even exactly the way that I'm doing it, but you sit there and you start to create things. Or, you know, if you say, well, that's not really for me, or whatever, then a really, really excellent way to learn. I want to show you something very quickly here in just a second. So that's the inline form. Notice it's form inline, whereas the first one was just form. All right, so form class equal form inline. So let's save this and let's run it. Okay, so that's what that form looks like. Not exactly the way that it looks like in the book. Oh, I think it's because it was set to that 35%. Okay, which is why we've got that pushed in. If I go back now, let's go back to our style 3 CSS and the body. Let's change the width. We'll do this. We'll say, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to change the form, this in here now to 100. All right. So I'm going to comment out the earlier one that I had in. Remember, this is CSS, so I've got a comment like this. So it was 35%. it's now 100%. So let's see if that makes it look. There's the inline form. Okay? All right, what I wanted to mention to you, though, and I'm going to say it again right now, is, if nothing else, go out to getbootstrap.com, all right? And don't go to download Bootstrap or anything, but just go work your way down in here. Now, I guess it's not there. Where is it? Getting started. If you don't want to start doing stuff yourselves, then go down to using the framework. Grab any one of these templates so you can see all the ones that we have here. All right? But grab one that, you are interested in, whatever it happens to be. Take that, copy it, all right? Work with that. Start putting some of this stuff in there that we're looking at right now. You're going to be so much better off for doing that. All right? All right, so there was the inline form. Horizontal form. Using Bootstrap's predefined grid classes to align labels and groups of form controls in a horizontal layout by adding the form horizontal, which is what you see right there, to the form, which doesn't have to be a form. Doing so changes form groups to behave as grid rows, so there's no need for the actual grid stuff. So it should look like this when we're done in just a second. All right, again, I'm going to keep doing this where I keep coming in here and whoops, when I'm doing something, when I get done with it, I'm going to comment it out. And then put the next one in. It'll take a couple seconds to do this one, I suppose. Half done. Div, 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 div. Trying to figure out where that div is going to right there, but I don't know. So I'm going to get rid of it. Maybe that was stupid. Save that. Let's run this one and see what it looks like. All right. I don't think we need 100% there anymore. That's probably one of the reasons it looks as putrid as it does right there. So let's change that from 100%. Let's make it about 60. I think it'll look a little bit better when we do that. All right. I think it does at least. All right, so that is a horizontal form as shown on pages 5 and 6. All right, turning up to page 6, the page in question here. Supported controls, examples of standard form controls supported in a form layout. You can see all the input controls. They're all the major ones that you'd use most of the time. Text area and you set them up and they'll look like this. No biggie right there. Checkboxes and radio buttons. There's a long example on page 7 and another one on page 8 and another one on page 9 and another one on page 10 and another one on page 11, and at least that's it. Alright, let's look at the one for checkboxes and radio buttons. So as always, I'm going to grab my code here, copy it to the clipboard. Ideally, when we get done, I guess it's going to look like this. Go back to here. I'm going to comment all this stuff out. I don't know if this one's going to work because I don't have, in the example they're showing here, there is no form tag. Alright, so I have no idea if you need one for the checkboxes or not, but we're about to find out. There's our first div. There's our second div, about half done here. There's our next div, whoops. Get it right yet. Alright, stretch. Last one. You notice we're testing different features and functionality here, such as this one I've noticed, just taking a quick look, it should be disabled. Alright, so let's save this and try running this one. Alright, so that's changed to this. Option 1 is this and that. Be sure to include why it's great. Option 2 is disabled, so again we can't click it. And those are checkboxes. Option 1 is this and that, and again option 2. And selecting this will disable the other one, so you can go back and forth, typical radio buttons, and option 3 is disabled. So that is the example in the textbook on your paper here on page 7 and 8. Let's talk inline checkbox, which is on page 8 and then prints out on page 9. Again, the idea is please take a look at these and try them. They're not hard to do. You've got all the code here. And if you don't want to copy the stuff, then copy the stuff that I'm working on here and make changes to that. Please take the time to do this. It will be worth your while. again, this may not work exactly as I think it's going to work, just because of the fact, one more time, just so you know, I don't have form tags in here, but I should still be able to use these controls even without the tags. I would think that wouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'm going to clean this up a little bit right now. Again, we're doing the inline stuff here, I believe. Okay, let's save and try to run that. And as you can see, it looks the way that it does on the top of page 9 in your text. Alright, a couple more. And notice again, check boxes so we can select 0, 1, 2, or all 3. Radio buttons, so if we select one and select another one, it changes. You already know this stuff. Alright, let me close a few of these. All of them, I guess. And again, we're going to take and comment this out. And comment this out. Alright, that gets us in the book, or our paper here, to selects, which are on page 9 of 13. Small example. That ideally is going to look like this when we get done. And again, notice the examples that they put in here. They're using numbers. You already know this. We could make this states or something else if we wanted to. Now here we've got multiple class, which I believe would be a multi-select, but we're going to find that out literally in a matter of seconds. Alright. So notice, select anyone we want from here, etc. Alright. The other one isn't showing, and I'm not sure why, so just to be sure, I'm going to put in our 4 line break tags. Alright, there's the other one. So there's, I'm going to put in about 4 more. You'll see why, hopefully, in just a second. Now I've got enough room where I can click on this and it shows all of them and I'm not intruding. Alright, so if I choose 5, there's 5. Here, multi-selecting. Okay? Alright, so that's the example that's on page 9 of our examples. Static controls on page 10. Just about 2 or 3 more here to go, and then we're done with this example. So, static controls. As I'm on page 10 of 13. Okay, again, not a very big example. 14 lines. Again, we do have a form here. When you need to place plain text next to a form label within a form, you use the form control static class, and that's what this one is going to show. Not a very big example, so it should take just a matter of seconds here. first div. Let's give this some room here. Same here. Right. So there's our examples. Okay, where we put the text off to the side. If we want to make something read only, we could put a placeholder in there and literally make it read only. So let's take the example we have here and we'll just add to it. So I'll add another div right here. All right. So there's my other div. So I've got here input, label for input, we'll call this input read only. All right, control label will be read only. All right. And we've got this again, input class, input type here is going to be text. Class is form control. ID will be input read only. And the placeholder will be this is read only text. And let's check. So I just added it to the previous example. There it is. After the placeholder I had to put read only, and I don't believe I did. So we will do that now. This is read only text. So let's move that down the line, and let's move that down the line. It says read only. Now let's try that. See how it's grayed? It's got the thing around it so I can't get control. All right, validation states on pages 11 and 12, as we're just about through here. And the author says, I did the read only with you, Bootstrap includes validation styles for error, warning, and success on here. Okay, which is good because we'd want that, to give feedback, etc. So we're going to do that, and after we do, we will conclude the chapter. All right, so you know that forms are important, and you know that forms and elements have a default size, width, and height that you can change if you want to. You can customize forms in other ways that are not shown here, but you also know that, because we've talked about it before, that, in fact, let's do it over here, you can go out to your old buddy, getbootstrap.com, and I'm going to check components here. Is that where forms are? No. Is it under CSS? Yep. So there's a lot of stuff. There's more examples here than I've just shown you. All right, so let's look at this last example that we have here, which looks like it's fairly big because it's about 30-some lines long. 26 lines long. All right. We'll do that one. Okay. Please please, I can't say this to you too much. At a minimum, please take a look at what I'm doing here. Make changes to it, even if it seems like they're superficial changes. Make some changes to them. And just to see what happens. Here's our first div. Second. Third. Okay. Actually, that should not be tabbed, which means that shouldn't be. Well, that can be. That's fine. It looks a little better like that anyway. All right. I don't see my ending div tag here. Did I just miss it? I guess there's not one after that last span right there. Div right there, right before the span class, for those two spans. There's the div. Okay, I guess that's everything. Still don't understand. There's a div right there. I think there should be a div down here. So let's run this. Okay, input with success, input with warning, input with error. You can see the colors. Input group with success. I'm not sure exactly if that one's looking the way it should or not. So let's turn in our handout here to page 12, and that is how it's supposed to look. All right, so you now have those done. And I have finished my 6th of 8 that I'm going to work on today. So when I come back in just a minute, I'm going to go through a very short one that is on tables. So let me close all these. This can now be closed, and I'm going to move over to tables. I can close this. Don't want to save. I can close. Geeks. I am up to number 7 with the table example. Let's extract that. Let's open this. It's a very short lesson. So when we go over that, we were going to make, here's a surprise, we're going to make tables. All right, you can see what's in there. All right, so that's it.